Today on The Big Story, it's cold and it's wet. How is the rainy season affecting Singaporeans? Singapore non-oil exports fall for the 9th straight month in November. First global eSports federation to be headquartered in Singapore. What can we expect? Welcome to The Big Story, where we discuss the top news of today and explain why it matters. I'm Kimberly Jiao, coming to you live from the Straits Times newsroom. If you're hoping for a white Christmas this year, it's more likely that Singapore will be seeing a wet festive season, with moderate to heavy thundery showers expected for the rest of the month. Rain is expected to continue over the next 2 weeks, and temperatures will likely dip to 23 degrees Celsius around Christmas Day. The temperature plunged to as low as 21.4 degrees Celsius in the northern part of Singapore on December 2nd, while the highest daily total rainfall recorded over the weekend was 80.9 millimeters on Sunday in Loyang. Some businesses are facing lower footfall, though others seem to be benefiting from the rain. With us in the studio to tell us more is journalist Priska Ang. Hi Priska, thanks for coming on today. Let's talk a little bit about how it's been impacting Singapore, specifically with the businesses.
Thanks, Kimberly. Over the past weekend, it's been super rainy, and some shops, they've seen sales dip as fewer customers enter their outlets because of lower footfall. In particular, shops which have been affected include retail shops, smaller F&B outlets, and fruit sellers. And some of these businesses have seen a decrease in customers by up to 50% because of the lower foot traffic. But on the other hand, we've seen businesses like hot pots and laundromats thriving. In particular, one laundromat has seen their customers more than double over the past 2 weeks because people have been unable to dry their clothes at home, and they have been resorting to bringing them to laundromats to dry their bed sheets and things like winter coats, which are difficult to dry when it's so humid because of the rain.
That makes sense. I didn't realize that was a thing that was affected, but it is, and actually the hot topic these days is PMDs and sort of these food delivery services, right? And wet weather is clearly, very dangerous. So how is this affecting them? Yeah, so as people seek shelter indoors, naturally and unsurprisingly, we've seen an uptick in the number of food deliveries and the food orders that have been made because people don't want to venture out to get their meals. So we've seen some companies like Food Panda, which saw an uptick in the number of orders from its customers, and companies have also been issuing safety advisories to riders, requiring them to stay safe on the roads, issuing them with alerts through groups such as Telegram, and they've also been requiring them to wear things like clothes which are made out of 30% reflective material so that they are clearly visible in the rainy and wet weather, which might result in lower visibility. I see. So there are measures in place right now? Yeah, so there are some measures in place taken by the delivery companies such as Foodpanda, GrabFood and Deliveroo. I see. Yeah. Well, good that they're staying safe, and everyone should stay safe out there in the wet weather. And if you'd like a look at the article that came out today, it is in print and it is also on our website, straitstimes.com. Now, Singapore's trade numbers continued its downward streak in November as exports declined for the 9th straight month. According to data released on Tuesday, non-oil shipments were down 5.9% last month, following a revised 12.5% plunge in October. Electronics products were the main drag in November, with shipments falling a whopping 23.3%. But there's a silver lining to the gloomy numbers. Although electronic exports were much lower than a year ago, the value has improved recently. At $3.4 billion, November's figure was the highest in 10 months. And with us today to discuss this is Assistant Business Editor Joanna Xiao. Hi Joanna, thanks for joining us. Now, it actually seems like there is an improvement here. Why do you think that is?
Okay, well, hi, thanks Kimberly for having me. So the external trade figures for November don't look great on the surface because it's the 9th straight month of decline. But the declines have generally been getting smaller since June, apart from a blip in October when there was a spike. But so demand for Singapore's products generally seem to be recovering. And also the figures are measured on, the headline figures are measured on a year-on-year basis. So if we look at what was happening a year ago, US President Donald Trump had been threatening additional tariffs on Chinese goods. So many companies might have been ordering products ahead of time to try and avoid incurring higher costs. So when you compare last month's figures to a year earlier, they definitely look lower. But that's because of this high base effect.
I see. When actually shipments for electronics fell, right? But for non-electronic exports, they actually grew at a 1.3%, coming off from the 11.2% decline in October. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so it's interesting because electronics exports have been getting a lot of attention because they tend to be more affected by the global trade tensions that have been going on. But I was speaking with UOB economist Barnabas Gunn earlier, and he was explaining that actually as a share of total Nodx, non-oil domestic exports, electronics actually only form about 20%, 20+%. So the greater proportion is actually made up of non-electronic exports, and they have been pulling up the overall figure. Such exports include like non-monetary gold and pharmaceuticals. They tend to be a bit more volatile as well.
I see. So what does this sort of slowdown in the decline mean for us exactly?
Okay, so analysts are saying that the contraction in exports has probably bottomed out, and things are expected to improve further going into next year.
Oh.
Yeah, especially as the US and China have recently agreed to a phase 1 trade deal. And the experts and Enterprise Singapore, which is the government agency that tracks the external trade data, they are forecasting that Nodx growth next year will be positive or at least zero, which is an improvement from the expected overall fall of between minus 10% to minus 9.5% for this year.
I see.
And so, of course, positive growth in Nodx next year will be good because Singapore is so reliant on exports for our economy.
I see. So hopefully that happens, but we'll see. And thanks for joining us today and sharing your insights with us, Joanna. And if you'd like to get stuck in with all the numbers and figures in the original article, do have a look at Joanna's article on straitstimes.com. And now let's move on to What's Trending, where Dylan will share with us what's buzzing in the internetverse. Dylan?
Thanks, Kim. It's time for What's Trending. First up, updates on the flood situation in Malaysia as torrential rain continues. More than 10,000 have been evacuated from their homes due to severe flooding, with Johor bearing the brunt of the downpour. Over 2/3 of the state's victims are from Kluang, Segamat and Kota Tinggi, the three most severely hit areas with floodwaters up to 2.5 meters deep in some areas. The rain is expected to hit Johor, Terengganu and Pahang until today. Our thoughts are with all those affected. Next up, it seems like Singaporeans can't get enough of burgers. The highly anticipated burger joint Five Guys has reached our shores, opening yesterday at Plaza Singapura. More than 1,000 burgers and 500 milkshakes were sold yesterday. The brand prides itself on its hand-cut fries cooked in peanut oil, as well as its burger patties with an 80-20 lean meat-to-fat ratio. Five Guys rounds up this year's notable burger news, with New York's Shake Shack having opened at Jewel in April. Bon appetit! And finally, all I want for Christmas is to top the Billboard charts. Christmas came early for singer Mariah Carey as a hit All I Want for Christmas Is You tops the US charts for the first time in 25 years. I know what you're thinking. How is that possible? We hear that song everywhere during Christmas. Well, here's why. Billboard's rules did not allow the song to compete on the Hot 100 chart because it was not commercially available as a single when it dropped in 1994 as part of an album. To mark its 25th anniversary this year, she promoted it harder than usual and even released a new video for it. Looks like she succeeded. In the past week alone, the song posted 45 million streams, 27,000 digital sales and 34 million radio plays. Well, never say never. And that's all we have for What's Trending today. If you've seen a story you want to share, link it in the comment section below. Back to you, Kim.
Thanks, Dylan. A global governing body for eSports called the Global Esports Federation, or GEF, was launched on Monday afternoon. The organization will be headquartered in Singapore and helmed by Chris Chan. The GEF said that its vision is to be the voice and authority for the worldwide esports movement. Esports made its debut as a full-fledged medal discipline at this month's SEA Games, the first time it has been included at an Olympic-recognized multi-sport competition. ST correspondent Sazali Abdul Aziz wrote about this yesterday, and we have him here with us to share more. Hi, Sazali. Here you are with us to share more.
Yeah.
So esports has been going on for a while, right? So is this establishment of the federation sort of a long time coming?
Yeah, certainly. I think popularity of esports has grown a lot. I think in the past decade, particularly, and in terms of the formation of GEF itself, it came to fruition after discussion about a year ago between Mr. Ng Sem Yang, who is the executive member of the International Olympic Council, and let me make sure I get his name right, Wei Zhizong, who's an honorary life vice president of the Olympic Council of Asia. So they had a conversation about just over a year ago, or maybe at the start of the year, rather, and it sort of grew into this idea that there could be a governing body that sort of aligns itself with the Olympic movement that's normally found in traditional sports, traditional physical sports, of course. So as you mentioned, esports itself has made plenty of strides over the years. Prize money at tournaments and participation numbers, viewership numbers has increased tremendously over the years. I think currently there are over 2 billion active gamers, which is basically like about a third of the global population, which is pretty insane. And in the last 24 months in particular, in terms of notching milestones, in trying to be recognized as a real sport per se, it's featured at the Asian Games in Jakarta, and obviously last month at the SEA Games as well in the Philippines.
I see. Well, this is actually a global federation, right? So what is the significance of it sort of being headquartered here in Singapore? Yeah,
well, we asked this question to Christian, the GF president, yesterday, and he said there's no real special significance of it being here. But having said that, obviously, him as a Singaporean leading a global organization like this is something great. And Singapore has positioned itself as being the forefront when it comes to technology and innovation. So I guess it's an apt location for this push for GF to be the world governing body of esports. It's also where, and this was mentioned a couple of times yesterday, where the first Youth Olympic Games was held in 2010, of course. So in that aspect, it's like I said, with the alignment and the goal of being recognized by the IOC eventually, it's up as well. Generally, esports governance globally is pretty decentralized, and it's industry driven by publishers, game makers, and so on. So there is a space there to be and there's an opportunity to be taken, and I guess it's great for GF to be based in Singapore as they make that push.
Right. So what exactly is the purpose of this federation? What exactly are we expecting it to do?
I think one of the things GF would like to do is I mean, they use the word galvanize esports. I think they also want to give it legitimacy. I think, like I mentioned earlier, there are detractors, people who say sitting in a room, in a dark room playing games is not sport. Yeah. There are others who say, they need you need the same level of stamina and focus and stuff like that. So it really is a debate. It's chess sport. It depends on how you look at it. So, but like I mentioned earlier, definitely participation numbers, viewership numbers have suggested that the sport is really, really popular, and it's only going to increase in popularity. Like I said, ultimate goal in the long term is to have esports in the Olympics. It's a lofty dream. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but certainly there are a lot of challenges. I think, for example, you would need all the global NSAs to sort of come together and recognize a body, an international federation such as GF. So it's a very step-by-step process, and I think it's going to take some time, because even the National Sports Association for Singapore, it's currently only has provisional status, partly because it's so new, and partly because there's a lot of criteria for it to check off the list before it's granted full status. So, like I said, it's a step-by-step thing, but certainly I think, judging by how fast eSport is growing, there's a lot of potential in it.
Yeah, and Team Singapore's doing great as well.
Yeah, they did well, and we've done well in, like I said, currently competitions are driven by game makers, publishers, and stuff like that. And we've got some big wins on the international stage in the last couple of years. Yeah. So yeah, hopefully we'll continue to do well.
Look forward to seeing more of Team Singapore, and thanks for coming down to share more with us, Azadi. No, do share your thoughts with us in the comments below, and if you'd like to read the full story, it is available on our website. And those were the top stories for today. For more news and videos, visit straitstimes.com. Once again, I'm Kimberly. Thank you for watching The Big Story, and we'll see you tomorrow.